Alright, so after last night, I mean, Aaron and I talked about it. It seemed like a pretty good setup. We saw all the fresh sign we were looking for. We saw deer. I think if we just kind of put together a bunch of those types of sits where we have pretty much everything going for us, we think, it's just a matter of time before it's going to work out. So we have a different wind direction today. So we're not going back to the same spot. Picked out a different spot based on the south wind that we got today. The other one was overlooking basically a bunch of potential people pressure and access spots and that type of thing. But the spot that I'm going into today is a little bit different. It's more secluded, it's a little bit further back, and it overlooks kind of this secluded little valley. But the big thing is that with a south wind, we're able to kind of get in there and get set up with essentially just off wind. So it should be, again, kind of like last night, about a 2-mile access, but we'll just go in there, look for hot sign, and then set up exactly where we think we need to be. We have to cross this ravine and then get to another cornfield, and then hopefully there's actually a trail. Once we get to the end of this cornfield, we should only be like 30-40 yards from where it says that trail is. See if we can meet up with it. Well, if I'd looked a little bit harder out of the parking lot, we probably would have been able to walk on this the whole way. At least we can take it on the way back.
It's true.
I mean, really, when you look at what these deer have, not just the bedding and these steep hills, but as far as food, I mean, soybeans, both public and private. We got corn everywhere. Some of these places got alfalfa too, and then not to mention this place is loaded with acorns. There's just so much food, it's unbelievable. We finally saw a pair of boot tracks, most likely deer, I would assume, given that scent away bottle that we saw way back there. But overall, not too concerned about it yet, just because there's so much land yet that this can lead to, that the odds that we're going to bump into a place that he's already hunted so far this season is still pretty low. So overall, considering the amount of land that we got up here, I'd say this stuff is still very light pressure as far as deer hunting is concerned. You can see the tread from that hunter's boot track right here and the deer track that's on top of it. So I don't know if the hunters in here basically, well, it had been yesterday. All this stuff had to have been made yesterday with the rain. So either this guy was here in the afternoon, the deer came out after dark, or sometime earlier in the day, but I mean, it gives you at least somewhat of confidence that there's still a lot of deer obviously using this area. And we're seeing some pretty big sized tracks back. So we're just following this path, and there's a lot of pretty good sized tracks on it. And every now and then we'll see one just kind of dip off and go into like a little, like a cut like you got right over here. And the wind is still good for this area, but that being said, it's kind of decision time in the fact that, like, if we choose to go over and start hunting off one of these tracks that cuts into the woods, anything that's past it means we kind of almost burn that bridge in a sense. So if we were to just go into like the deepest one and hunt that, the deepest point, we'd be getting our scent basically wafting over some of those other potential beds, whereas if we can basically hunt the first one and then come back in the next day and hunt a little bit deeper. But if we stay on this path and just see where some more tracks might be, we can do that without getting our scent blown in there because of the wind direction. So we might try that first and just see what else we see for tracks before we make a decision on exactly where to cut into the woods. So based on the tracks we've been seeing, we basically made a plan to go one of two ways. We said we'll go one way today, maybe one way tomorrow. Well, we started going the one way, and that the one pair of boot tracks that we've seen, we could see the guy sitting up on the edge of an alfalfa field that's just on public. And we were planning on going past him to hunt the bedding for the south winds. But option two was to check out this stuff. There's a lot of tracks going into here. There's a bunch of little points that all stick together, but it's so dense. And even on the edge of this field, the foliage and the underbrush is so thick that there's just really no good way to get in there undetected. So what we might do tonight is walk down the edge of this soybean field and see if there's a good place to hop in there and get past that initial layer of brush. If not, we might just hunt the field edge and use it as like a semi-observation sit where we could have something walk by, or if not, we might see something enter the field and then be able to make a game plan for tomorrow. I mean, the nice thing is we'll have the same wind that we're having today, tomorrow, and the day after. So anything we do see in an observation is a pretty good likelihood of playing out tomorrow as well. I'll walk right down there.
There's a scrape on the edge of the field.
Scrape.
I think I'll use some lichen branches in the start of one. Like 15 yards. That's a fresher rub too.
There's not great shooting to the field.
No.
But I don't know what other option we really have. I'd like to get way up high, but it's like the higher we get, like the worse the visibility is.
Yeah.
One thing that might be good is with the south wind, they might not be bedded on this slope. They might be bedded across the ravine, so they could dip over and get up to that field edge. Let's head over tree back there. So we got into this area. We were thinking about just setting up on the end of the soybeans as kind of a combo observation / hunt sit. But there's really no trees that you can climb up into really observe that field well. So we ended up finding a spot right on the edge where there's a ton of tracks, there's a lot of stuff going in and out, there's fresh rubs, even the start of a scrape right on this field edge. And we really don't think these deer are bedded too far in. Like probably less than 100 yards is what we're expecting, just based on how thick it is right here. So we're set up in a spot where we can see potentially some deer filtering out to this low spot in the field, and we could also potentially shoot to the field edge in a couple spots. So that's the plan for tonight. The wind is a little dicey, but it's about the best that we can do right now. Didn't see any deer come through tonight. I mean, the spot wasn't as ideal as we kind of hoped it would be based on the map. It would have been interesting to see if we would have been able to get to that first spot we wanted to go to on the other side of the alfalfa field. But now we at least have one area that we can kind of cross off, and now we can move on to the next one.